1994 Ford Ranger. What a piece of junk.
So here we are, the last time the Ranger is going to drive into my shop as a 4-cylinder. Oh yeah. It's going to sound a lot better the next time I do that. Well, as you can see, my removal is going as poorly as I expected. They say just because you can doesn't mean you should. You can pull it all together, but you probably shouldn't because it doesn't fit at all. Yeah, it was a huge mistake trying to pull it as one unit, but I'm lazy and now I'm paying the price. So, it's out now. I got a lot of cleanup to do, but I had to do one thing, only one thing I regret. And I cut this because I forgot about it and stretched it. That is the signal line from the clutch master to the clutch slave cylinder, which is not the end of the world. It's probably not that expensive on Rock Auto, if I can even use it anyway, between the Rx7 and this. But it's not that big physically, but I bet it's heavy compared to the Rx7. Dimensionally, they're not far off. I'll see if I can get a better picture. So, we got the engine out. Got a lot of cleanup to do, obviously, still. But now that I've got the engine out, we can take some measurements. And yeah, the 2.3 was 25 and trans 32 long, and the rotary 17 and 33. So this is an easy swap. We're putting in something dimensionally quite a bit smaller. Like, besides the height of the 4-cylinder being massive compared to that rotary engine, the weight is probably a massive gain as well. Like, this thing's tiny in comparison. And even its bigger brother, the 13B right here, that's not assembled yet, it's going to be bigger than that one, but not a ton bigger. It's the turbo that's going to take up the most space. So I'm still figuring out the logistics of where things go. I cut a hole in the floor for no reason because I ended up moving the engine and transmission. That's where the factory transmission tower came out. This is where the Rx7 one does. So it's about, I don't know, 6 inches further back. Not that bad, actually. I might not even have to, I don't even have to change the seats if I don't want to. And the front end, there is no transmission mount yet. That's not done. But the engine mount is done. And you guys will be proud. It is exceptionally heavy. It is so heavy, in fact, it's probably good for 3 or 4 times the horsepower I'm going to put through it. But that's the kind of garbage metal I had laying around. And I utilized the factory Ford Ranger engine mounts. Let's see if we can get an angle on those. Blurry. Oh, there we go. So I utilized the factory Ranger engine mounts, except that instead of being down here, now they're up front. So now I can order parts for the Ranger, no matter what. And I still have to finalize the welding. I still have to paint everything. It still has to be cleaned. There's lots of work, but yeah, next is transmission mount. And look at the room. Oh, by the way, the reason I moved the engine forward up as well quite a bit, which is an issue for clearance to the hood, as you can see, but it should be minor alterations. It's the clearance, the exhaust. So now I've got all this room to put in a header. And when I put in the 13B, it's all this room for a turbo. And it might still not be enough. Because nobody's ever put a rotary engine in a Ford Ranger, I couldn't just buy a manifold or buy a header. So I bought a blank manifold from Racing Beat. And basically just bought two 2-inch 90s and a length of 3-inch pipe. And as you can see, I just split the pipe, widened it, filled in all the gaps, and then made a collector. This thing's gonna flow way more than that 1.1 liter can put out anyway. Let's see if it fits. So, of course it fits. I built it. Like, it's not even a question that it would fit. It fits absolutely beautifully because there's a mile of room down there too. But as you can see, I left all the bolts exposed and very easy to get to. And the reason for that is these engines are, they're not known for their durability and long-lasting characteristics. So yeah, I want to be able to yank this thing easy, and part of that is being able to pull the header off without having to fight. Don't let that little pipe fool you. That's a 3-inch. So the exhaust system's done. The cooling system's almost done. I couldn't figure out where the other heater hose went. One of them goes on the back of the engine, and the other one's a mystery. So I had to look at the old radiator. And as you can see, what a dumb design. The heater hose goes right onto the radiator. So I had to build a similar thing out of pipe, which is kind of hokey, but is what it is. And yeah, the wiring's almost done. I've got a few more mystery wires to deal with and see what the truck needs and doesn't need. And I put in a pressure probe and a coolant probe and an auxiliary coolant probe. That would be this little one that's going to a mechanical gauge, because these things are very sensitive to temperature. And yeah, I still got to figure out the throttle, and I still have to figure out, I have to build a coolant pipe tomorrow to get around this problem here. And yeah, other than that, it's putting fluids in it and test running it pretty quick here. Oh, and dump fan. Another dump fan. No shortage of dump fans. So here we are. I've got some stuff done manually, some stuff still being fitted. Keys on. Fuel pump. Good. Electric fan. Good. So we're gonna go for a test run here, and I'm not sure what to expect. There's all kinds of things I haven't proven yet. Might have coolant leaks, might have problems. Won't know until we try, right? Shockingly loud. Shockingly loud. It absolutely needs a muffler. Here we are in the Ranger. Oh, check engine. Yeah, it's not there. Well, we're almost there. Almost. It's a little hard to start. I'm gonna have to figure that out. These things are notorious for not getting enough fuel or flooding or both. It's a real party. I always get it running. It just sometimes it takes a few tries, so I'm gonna get that dialed in. I got the timing dialed in, but yeah, it's coming along. So I have test driven this thing, and the clutch doesn't release. So I had to change out the master cylinder, so that took some effort. So the slave cylinder is the factory Mazda, and I had it before as the master cylinder was a Ford Ranger one. So I retrofitted in a Mazda Rx7 master cylinder. So now it's all Mazda, this stuff. And now it shifts in and out of reverse and first flawlessly with no dragging. And once tomorrow, me and Buddy go through the carburetor and jet it for this engine, we'll be good. It'll be roadworthy. It'll be test drive time, real test drive, not, idle it around the yard stuff. I'm going to go burn out on the highway. So, at this stage, I've got the front end lowered by the book, of course. Those definitely aren't cut springs. And this thing does run and drive, but the gear ratios are so bad that in third gear, you're doing 110 kilometers an hour, 120 kilometers an hour at normal RPM, which means it's way, way, way too much, too low of gears in the rear end. So I have ordered 456 gears for the rear end, and I figured I might as well pull the box to do that because I've already lowered the front. Now I've got to lower the back 2 inches, and then I'll put some gears in. I might as well have the box off to do all that stuff. So that's where we're at now. So more than likely what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the diff to the other side of the springs, and then I'm going to build longer rear shackles. So when I started doing this, I was planning on flipping the hangers, which was considered a 2-inch drop, but the hangers were totally rotten. And I mean rotten. Like, as I can cut it, but as you can see right here, there's nothing left. Same thing with this is the right hand side one. There's nothing left. It was rotten right through. So what we did is I just built some, and they're kind of ugly right now, but they're not done. They're infinitely adjustable. So I don't want to lower the truck too far. I want to lower it 2 inches to match the front because I don't want to have to buy a bunch of parts. So for now, those are going to stay ugly and unfinished looking until I get the truck height sorted out. And then if it works out fine, I'll probably forget they ever got done half-assed and leave it like that forever. But if they need to be adjusted, I have some room to lift the truck back up. I can't go any lower, but I can lift the truck back up. As it sits right now, I am, I believe, 2 inches lower. So we had 7 inches between the diff and the rubber block when I started. And now we have, it's hard to show exactly what that is, but it's about 5. So we've gotten a 2-inch drop, but there's no box on it yet. And there's no weight on it, and that side's not done yet. So until I can be 100% sure, we have to leave these in the unfinished position. And yeah, but it is coming along, and the price is right. I'm still currently into it for $0. What's amazing is, for how rotten the hangers were, I managed to get this stuff all apart, which is unheard of. Unheard of. And I only had to shed about 30 pounds of rust to do it. So here we are finally. It is a running, driving truck now. And got 456 gears in the rear end. And we're going to test drive it. I already have test driven it, but oh! Yeah, makes lots of noise. Lots of spinning, there's not enough weight in the box. But the 456 gears really cleaned it up. It's still got a little bit of a miss at the top. I've done a lot of carb adjustment, but it's got a I don't know if that's detonation. I've done a lot of timing adjustment, but it still needs some tuning. But I mean, for the purposes of driving it, yeah, it still rips pretty good compared to a Ranger. Rips really good compared to a Ranger. Like at least twice as fast as what I expected, but yeah, time will tell. More testing is necessary, but everything works except for the factory tack. So yeah, there's the next step. You've got a running, driving Ford Ranger Rx7 engine, well, sorry, Rotary 12A engine. And I did lower the front. It didn't pan out. I'm going to run it with the box on and see what the height difference is, because I've put some different springs in the front. They're a little lower, and then the back is lowered about 2 inches. Should make it handle a little better. It's a little light in the front with this engine. It runs pretty good, but it's still got a miss at the top that I can't figure out. It could be detonation, but I've got the timing pretty well dialed in, so I'm gonna have to do some more research on this. And I did end up having to run a Mazda Rx7 master cylinder because there was too much of a difference between the Ranger and the Mazda, and I wasn't getting the correct travel, and the clutch would never fully release. Yeah. But as far as compatibility, everything works good. Like I said, except for the rear end, I had to re-gear it to 456. And most RX-7s in the 80s were 410 rear end ratios, because these things, like the engines rev so high that's where they got their speed from. So this thing had 373 gears, and you couldn't do more than third gear. Third gear was highway speed. So I did put a giant grain truck muffler on it to make it more bearable, and as you heard in the video, it's still not quiet. But yeah, next step is getting the body work done. I've got a spare box right there for it, but it's white. I'll put the box on it. I'm gonna get some body work done. I'm gonna drive it a bit and prove it, and then on to the next challenge.